Hi, my name is Claire Potter, and I'm Professor of History Emeritus at the New School for Social Research. I wrote a book called Political Junkies. It's a history of social media, but more importantly, it's a history of how politicians have harnessed social media to become powerful. I got the idea for the book in 2016 after Donald Trump was elected President of the United States. A lot of people were surprised that a candidate like Hillary Clinton, who was very strong in the Democratic Party and who had the best possible political consulting available to her, lost to a political newcomer who seemed to have done very little. And yet, many of us looked at Donald Trump's use of Facebook, his use of Twitter, and his other use of social media and thought, there's a history here. So I dug back into that history and I started the book right after World War II when a guy named I.F. Stone figured out that he could make money selling a newsletter on politics, and that a 4-page newsletter that focused on one thing every week and did that over a period of several weeks or a month or even a year in relation to the Vietnam War, that people would be interested in focusing on his expertise about politics and that they would pay him $5 a year to do it. $5 a year was actually a lot of money in the early 1950s, and Stone had a huge readership. More importantly, he inspired a great many other journalists and political consultants to take their messages directly to consumers. So this period in the 1950s and 1960s, in which we see the invention of the mailing list, we see the invention of the zip code, we see the invention of a range of technologies that allow political consultants and politicians to speak directly to American citizens. Sounds like Twitter? Well, that's because it is like Twitter. What we needed, of course, was a technological bridge between people getting things in the mail and people getting things on the cell phone, the way we get them today. So I wrote a long history of how people reinvented what it meant to communicate with voters, how the internet laid the basis for that, and it spans a fascinating group of people. There's a guy named Richard Viguerie, for example, who is president of his Young Republicans Club in Texas, and he invents the mailing list. After Barry Goldwater fails to be elected president in 1964, Richard Viguerie takes a bunch of secretaries into the Library of Congress and writes down the names of all the donors who gave to Barry Goldwater. And that becomes the basis of how he communicates with conservatives for the rest of the 20th century. I talk about Matt Drudge, who really, he couldn't do anything. He graduated from high school, he was aimless, he went to Southern California, he went to work in the television industry, emptying wastebaskets. But one of the things Matt Drudge learned was that in those wastebaskets was all kinds of information that nobody else knew but him. So he bought a computer, he set up a website, and he started sending out this information that he was just picking out of the wastebasket. He soon extended himself to politics. Well, we know what happened to Matt Drudge. Matt Drudge was the person who someone came to about the Monica Lewinsky scandal when nobody else in the country, certainly no major media publication, would print it that President Bill Clinton had had an affair with an intern. So the long arc of this book runs from 1945 to the election of Donald Trump, and it shows systematically election cycle by election cycle, technology by technology, publication by publication, how we get to the world that we live in today, where we are communicating directly with political consultants 60 or 70 times a day, where we are signing up for social media services, where a politician can come directly to us without any interference from the major media, and to a period now in Donald Trump's second term where politicians can credibly say that what you read in professional journalistic publications, the New York Times, the Washington Post, other major newspapers, isn't really what they said, because they'll show you what they really said on social media. So, in conclusion, let me say that everything has a history. Every social media platform has a history. Every political technology has a history. And that history started on paper.